everybody, so I hope you're having a really great day. Today I'm going to answer some of the questions, well actually all of the questions that you guys asked me over on Instagram on the new questions feature, and I got 19 questions and they are all amazing questions. Some of them are really simple answers, but a lot of them are kind of big, fat, juicy questions with juicy answers. So I hope you like this video. If you don't know me very well, this is going to be a great video for you to get to know me a little bit better. So first things first, this is 2 days after I washed my hair with clay. If you haven't seen that video, go and watch it, because I figured out how that product really works and what it's for. It has done a really amazing job of cleaning my hair so thoroughly and allowing my deep conditioning treatment to properly penetrate into my hair. It is much better than Olaplex that I've used and just Briogeo Don't Despair Repair on its own, because look at these curls. I've got like proper really amazing ringlets even under here on having washed it today and done a deep conditioning treatment, and I'm so happy with it. I think it's the best hair I've had in a while. I've literally been staring at myself a lot today in the mirror because they're the curls I've sort of knew were in there, but I've not really properly seen yet, and so I'm just really chuffed with it. So let's get into the questions. Number one is, how are you? And that's not like a how are you today, because this is someone that's been following me for a while, and I'm pretty sure she's asking how I am, like inside, in my emotions and my mental state, basically to do with Rose. And that's how I'm going to answer this question. So if that's not really what you meant and it's how are you today, to be honest, I get how are you today a lot, because when you're going through grief, every day is very different, and that's probably how I'm going to answer this question, in that most every day is like fine. If you're going through kind of like the day-to-day, you can deal with it. It's a distraction. It's just like the everyday tasks are easy to go through, and then every so often you just get hit with a wall of grief that means that you can't function. And I had one of those like a couple of Saturdays ago, and it was just horrible. I just couldn't function. I couldn't express my emotions well. I don't think I even knew what my emotions were. It was just a big fat mess of emotion, and that just happens from time to time, only in like a more intense way than normal, I guess, because I think everyone has those, and I used to have them probably, I don't know, once a year, a couple of times a year when we were first married, quite a lot, because I think when things change and are different and you're trying to understand what's going on, that's when, like, I don't know, I just get overwhelmed. I'm not very good at expressing things as they come or realising them as they come, and then they just all happen all at once. But generally I am doing okay. The blog post that I read still stands as like my way of thinking about it and how I'm going through it and how I think of it every day. So yeah, that's how I feel right now. Question number 2 is, are you planning on having more cute little babies? And I love this question because this person thinks I have cute little babies. Thank you. I think he's pretty cute too. And the short answer to that is yes, and the longer answer to that is just not quite yet, because we wanted there to be a bigger gap just because of my general emotional capability, my type 1 diabetes, and the fact that we've just moved country. Question number 3 is, what do you do with your time when you're not on social media? I need to get off of it. And then tips for not spending so much time on the internet. So my answer to the first one, if you need to get off of social media, just take the notifications off your phone and tell yourself when you're going to access it. It's brutal if you cut it out completely. I'd just say like, okay, I'll do mornings, I'll look at it not first thing, but like I'll look at it over breakfast for 15 minutes, and then I'll look at it just like after dinner or something for 15 minutes. For me, taking the notifications off, I did that about 2 years ago. Best thing I ever did. And then tips for not spending so much time on the internet, I'd probably say, is just to distract yourself with other things, get other things in your diary. If you've seen like my latest video about like what I do with my toddler, that's the sort of things I do to distract myself from the internet. And yeah, we go and see people and make sure there are other things to do in the diary, and a toddler is a great distraction for spending time on the internet. But prior to that, I just did other things but that were on the internet actually. So I set up my own company when I was 19, and that was kind of web-based anyway, but it was a more productive way of being on the internet. So I don't know, I'm probably not a very good person to ask about how much time I spent on the internet. Question number 4 is, do you ever weigh yourself, or isn't it something you bother about? And I am very blessed with a great metabolism, I'm not going to lie there. I've never really had to weigh myself or worry about that, other than because of my diabetes I'm at the hospital or at the doctor's surgery a lot, and I get my weight checked there a lot. So if they were worried about it, they would say something, and even when I was pregnant it was pretty darn perfect. So I'm just really blessed in that department. But we also don't keep scales in house because Pete just doesn't like it, I don't like it, they're kind of not really necessary, and then you just don't need to worry about it. We tend to know if we're putting on or losing weight on just like how clothes are fitting. That tends to be a more accurate gauge for us. Question number 5 is, would you say you are largely content or happy with life, and if yes, why? I would say yes, I'm pretty content or happy with life. I haven't always been, and I do go through periods. I think everybody does, going through periods where you're like, this is not how I wanted it to be. But yes, I'm pretty content and happy with life most of the time, and I think that's just a choice that I make every day to be happy with the way things are, because it's much better than being grumpy. Question number 6 is, do you get on well with all of your siblings and your parents? I have 2 brothers. I have one that's older and one that's younger, and we get on pretty well, actually. Pretty well, I'd say, because I am the girl in the middle, and actually sometimes they get really annoyed with me for being a girl. Sometimes they have like man chats that I just don't understand and I'm not really included in, and that can kind of be annoying. But I don't know, it's just regular sibling stuff. We don't have any big massive rivalry or anything. I tend to be a person that just tries to get on with everybody and make the happiness out of every situation. And my parents, I love both of my parents. My parents are divorced actually, but I don't know, we love each other, everything's fine. I get on really well with both of them. Question number 7, how do you know whether shoulder length or longer hair suits you better? Sorry, I couldn't read my writing there. So I don't know, are you asking about me or are you asking about you? If you're asking about me, I like my hair this length currently, but I did like it when it was longer. But because I've got quite a long face, you probably can't tell that because my hair is so big right now, I like this length because it means that my hair lies out more. It gives it more volume, and so it makes my face feel kind of more in proportion. I don't know, but I'd like to go out again and see how the curl pattern is now I've kind of really got my curls back. But if you're asking for you, I'd probably just say the way that I do it is if I'm in the mood for a hair change, I look at people with a similar face shape to mine that are famous on the internet. So I've got an oval face, so just type in like oval faced hairstyles, and then you usually get a bunch of celebrities and their hairstyles, and then you can kind of tell what you like the best and kind of go from there. Question number 8, how do you remain so positive? You always seem to be super smiley and happy. I've probably kind of already answered that in question number 5, but I remain so positive by choosing to be positive every day, in every moment, in every crisis, and trying to find the positive in it. And sometimes that's really small positive, but it's just the way to look at it. It's like glass half empty, glass half full. It's kind of like, even if there's like 5% bit at the bottom, which is a good thing, in my head, I just choose to make that more important than the rubbish that's happening on the top of it. Did that make sense metaphorically? So like if I wake up in the morning and I'm really grumpy, I try and work out why I'm really grumpy, and then just say to myself basically like, you can choose to be grumpy today, or you can choose to get out of it and be happy, and just be happy for everyone, because that's just going to be so much better. Obviously if I'm having a bad day, sometimes I just choose to have a bad day, and I say to my husband, I say like, Pete, this is a bad day, it's just going to be a bad day today. And sometimes he's like, come on Lisa, you can do it, or he's like, what's wrong, let's talk through it. And sometimes you just have to have a bad day, and that's okay. But most of the time I'm happy and positive because I choose to be. Question number 9 is, what is your favourite food, drink, country, colour, band, singer, alcohol, clothes shop and radio station? Let me see what I can do here, because favourites are really hard for me because I don't have like definite favourites. They kind of fluctuate like daily / with the seasons. So my favourite food today is probably raspberries because they're in season and they taste amazing, like really, really good. And my favourite drink today and probably all time is water. That's such a cliche thing to say. Love water. It's the most refreshing thing ever in the world. Probably second to that, some kind of tea. I just love tea. Not regular tea. Don't really like regular tea, but like herbal teas. My favourite country is a really difficult question because I've lived in 3 countries and I've travelled a lot. So if it's a country that I'd have to live in, I'd probably say this one, England. But like, I don't know, I feel like 50-50 here in Belgium. I've also lived in Australia, which I liked, but it would be too hot to live in like all the time. I think if I had to live in one country for the rest of my life, I'd probably say Belgium. Ooh. Do you know, I feel a bit unnerved about the current political situation in this country, so I don't know. Favourite country to visit? I loved Greece. Greece is like so beautiful and the food is amazing, so maybe Greece. My favourite colour is almost definitely red. I love red, but then I also really like coral. You see, I just can't pick one. I like all of the beautiful things. My favourite band or singer. Now, again, I don't really have a favourite. I have really like particular songs I like in the moment. But at the minute I'm listening to a lot of songs my kid likes. So I don't know. The one that I probably listen to most frequently with my husband is Fall Out Boy. And that would probably really surprise you, but I really like Fall Out Boy. My favourite alcohol is gin and tonic. That one I can do. I love G&T. My favourite clothes shop is, I love to thrift. I love to thrift. Probably, I don't know, it's probably like 30% of my wardrobe is thrifted. I really like Zara, but I'm not sure about the ethics of that at the minute. But in terms of style, I really like it. My favourite radio station, I listen to Radio 1 if I'm listening to a radio station because I just want to find out what's new, but I don't really listen to the radio a lot, just sometimes at the weekend on certain shows. Question number 10 is my favourite thing to do on a weekend. My favourite thing to do on a weekend is probably first thing on a Saturday, my husband takes our son down the road to this amazing bakery, like properly amazing bakery, and gets pastries for us all for breakfast. And that is amazing for 2 reasons. One, I get a really great pastry for breakfast, but number 2, I get like 45 minutes to an hour by myself to just pamper myself and do me things, and sometimes I just clean the house, but I always feel really refreshed and ready for the weekend. But actually, if I had to go and do stuff, I don't know, I just like going on walks with my family wherever that is. Question number 11, are you an introvert or an extrovert? And the answer to that is actually I'm a transitioning one. I used to be an introvert and I'm definitely a lot more extrovert now than I used to be. I think heart of hearts, I'd probably always want to be by myself rather than with other people, but at the same time I really love other people. When I did one of those tests, is it like the Myers-Briggs, is that what it's called? I used to be an I, and now I'm kind of more moving towards an E. So there you go. Question number 12 is, how did you meet Pete? I met Pete playing Skittles at a singles night. Yes, that's true. I only ever went to one single Skittles night, and I met my husband. There you go. So there should be more single Skittles nights for people to feel blimmin' awkward, but to go. And I was kind of actually involved in the organisation of it. I did a whole video with Pete when I kind of introduced him ages ago. What would that be, like 5 years ago now? And in that you find out how we met and how we dated and how we got married after having met within a year. So there you go. Question number 13, have you or do you struggle with bad body image? If so, any advice on how to accept yourself? Yes, in that I am almost 6 foot tall and I always hated being tall because I always felt like I was just too intimidating for guys to talk to. I guess I spent some time in Australia with people that just really don't care about body image as much, and they're just kind of a bit more like everything's okay and just much more chilled about it all, and that really helped, just being around that kind of environment where no one really worries about it. Advice on how to accept myself. Again, I feel like it's a bit of a choice, but I really understand how you can really get into loops in your head where you're thinking the same thing. And I think partly as well it's who surrounds you and the sort of things they're saying to themselves, as well as the things that you watch. So I tend to watch and read things that are really positive, where people aren't like being really critical and negative about themselves or other people, because actually that's not a positive influence on me and therefore on other people. And the same way with things like who I follow on YouTube and who I follow on Instagram and things like that. They tend to be positive people who talk positively about themselves, and that really just helps me think positively about myself also. Question number 14 is, when do you come back? That is our next door neighbour from Belgium. When do you come back? They miss us and I miss them, and we had really, really lovely neighbours when we were in Belgium, and I don't know, I hope we come back soon-ish because I love Belgium, but then we may never come back. I don't know. I hope it's within the next 5 years, maybe 10. I would really love to live in Belgium again. Question number 15 is, how do you feel about atheists? Okay, that's a deep question. I guess this person knows that I'm a Christian, because I am a Christian. I'm a practicing Christian as well. Like, I go to church on a Sunday. I properly believe in Jesus and the Bible and everything like that. So it's a pointed question in that way. But I don't know. I don't agree with atheists, but I love them as people. I have friends that are atheists, so that's sort of how I feel about them. Obviously, I disagree with atheism because I definitely believe there is a God, and I feel like I see miracles around me all of the time that can't be explained with science, and I don't see how you can't see those, I guess, is my only real thought on that. I just, even if you don't believe in Jesus, I don't see how you can't believe in a God in control of everything in some way, or in like who created things, or I don't know. I definitely just, the concept of everything coming from a giant bang is like way more far-fetched for me than there being a God. That's a big question. I could probably go on about that for a while, but there's my 2 pennies. Question number 16, what are some of your favourite books? I've got quite a lot of books. There's a load of books over there. You can see them just there. Like, but there's a whole big shelf full in our room. Little Women is like my ultimate favourite book ever. I love Little Women. And also Healthy at 100 is probably like the book that I've probably read more, actually. I read more times, and that probably has had a similar amount of influence but on a different area of my life. So I'd say like Little Women affects a lot of my personality, but like Healthy at 100 affects a lot of like my diet and lifestyle related choices. I'll make sure both of those are linked down below in case you're interested in reading them. Number 17 is, would you like more children? That we've already answered that. The answer is yes, but probably only one more. I don't know, we'll see. If I have twins, I don't really have much choice about that. Question number 18, how did you plan your wedding? Any tips? Now, we had a pretty swift wedding. From engagement to actual wedding day was 11 weeks. It was very, very rapid, and actually Mum and I wrote a book at the time of all of the tips on how to plan a wedding in such a short period of time. I'll make sure that's linked down below if that's still available on Amazon. But I'd probably say the best thing that we ever did when we were planning it so quickly was to just decide. So it was me, Pete and my mum that were planning it, and we each basically gave ourselves one thing that we wanted to be in the wedding, because we knew we couldn't have everything that we would ever possibly want, but we had to work out what was the most important thing to us and to just focus on that and make sure then we each had our thing. So for me, it was looking and feeling really super pretty that day. For Pete, it was making sure that we had all of the people that he wanted there. So both of those things really made a difference to how we planned it, because we had so many people coming to the wedding. We had to have a very particular venue, so I couldn't have it at like a tiny little village church like I might have wanted, because it was more important that we had everybody there. In the same way that we made sure in that 11-week time span that we spent one whole day, which doesn't sound like a lot, but in like 10 weekends, you've got to be quite careful on how you plan your time, especially when you're both working full time, that basically we had one day which was devoted to me finding a dress, and I did find a dress in that day, like for the price that I wanted, and that was as beautiful as I wanted. I'd say also just remember that it's just one day, and the most important thing is actually your marriage, not how the wedding goes. So the more you like relax about it, the more fun you're gonna have. And if you're like intent on it being absolutely perfect on the day, then I just don't think it's necessary. I've got so many tips I could share with you guys, but another really important one is to create a really great team, especially if you've got to plan a wedding in a very short space of time. So my mum was amazing and got like a great team of ladies who were in our local church at the time to just help organize different parts of it, and everybody really pitched into our wedding, and that made it just like one of the most special weddings ever, because we had like 7 different cakes, because we asked people instead of presents to like make us cakes or bring food to share at the wedding. We had like I want to say like 200 people there. There were a lot of people at our wedding. We had it in this big barn, and it was just such a special day. Question number 19 is the last question, and it is, do you find that the longer you are on the CGM, the curly girl method, for those of you that don't know that, the more days you get to have between washes? No. Actually, I want to say yes, because that should be so much easier to say, oh, I only wash my hair like 1.5 times a week now, but actually I probably wash my hair more, because in this kind of experimental phase, I still feel like I'm in a bit of experimental phase, I'm probably putting more product in my hair, and then it probably looks like greasier or less nice quicker. Also, I did hear somewhere from someone that actually the more you wash it, the healthier it's going to be, because the more hydrated it's going to be because you put more water into it. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think the more you can experiment with really quick wash and go styles, the better. And Curly Susie's really great for having a really good sort of wash and go routine that you can follow. So check out Curly Susie if you haven't. So that is all the questions. Thank you guys so much for watching, for joining in, and I hope you found it interesting. I hope you enjoyed getting to know me a little bit better, and I hope that you have a fantastic rest of your day, and check back soon for a new video.